What is going on, fellow gamers? ChaosEclipse here. We are back on No Man's Sky. Today we're going to have a quick short video. I just wanted to jump on this hype train for the Apple update. I guess that's what we're calling it, at least for now. So, a couple things that I just wanted to go over. Let's talk about his previous emojis that Sean Murray has put out in the past. And there's a reason I'm going over the previous ones. So, the very first one in the very beginning, we were looking at the Foundations update, and he did a building structure. Basically saying it's foundation, things like that. But just by looking at a building, you don't automatically think, oh, it's foundation. I mean, that could mean tons of different things. New housing for players, things like that. So I just want to be very clear because Sean Murray has never been extremely forward with his emojis. They've always been more cryptic than anything, at least in my opinion. I mean, maybe you guys were able to figure out some of what the emojis meant, before they actually released. Hey, this is what they mean by it, whatever. In my opinion, he's always been extremely cryptic, like I said, and it hasn't really. I mean, it's made sense after looking at it, but from the very beginning, it's very hard to just be like, oh, that's definitely what it is. So the reason why I'm talking about that is because the last emoji that he did, and it was just recently, the last emoji that he did, he put out one with the apple. So he did actually two at the same time. He tweeted a red apple, and then he tweeted a green apple. And I think that is also very important here. So, like I said, if we look at the past ones, one of the things that we need to take into consideration is, like I said, he has never been extremely forward with his updates. Like, they've always been cryptic. And I mean, you can take what you want from that. I mean, it's not always the case, obviously, but it's definitely something that we need to take into consideration. So he did, the little, and it wasn't even really a building. I guess it was more of a like a construction site type thing. At least that's how I seen it for the Foundations update. And then if we skip forward a few, he did Visions, which was like a basically like a little colored person, as far as like their skin color was like a bluish color, if I remember correctly, like a greenish color. So people thought that it was like aliens, things like that, a new species, and that's not what it was. And then, moving even further forward, he did an orange, which was I think that one was the Origins update. Also, not very forward with that. I mean, who would get, how do you get, Origins out of an orange? So, like I said, his emojis have never been straightforward, at least in my eyes. Even the practical one, when he did the snowflake, things like that, they've always just been very more in depth than what most people are thinking. So with that being said, obviously everyone has their own speculations. I've been kind of reviewing it just over in my mind, looking at past emojis that he's done. I mean, I think the closest one that was semi-forward was and this is just my opinion, was the endurance update, because he did do like a muscle arm. Granted, nobody's going to think endurance right away with that one either, but at the same time, like, to me, that was the most forward one. Maybe it's because at the time I was looking to go into the gym, so I'm thinking, endurance, working out, things like that. I believe even with that one, I did do a speculation one, and I initially said it like had to do something with like strength or more powerful things, just because it was. If you look at the actual description of the emoji, it's actually it's called a flex. So, with that being said, like I said, first of all, we have two emojis to work with. We have the red apple and we have the green apple. Initially, in my mind, I was picturing something like, oh, okay, it has to do with seasons, because you have your red apples, your green apples, and I was thinking a little more in depth about it, and I was like, that's. There's other ways you could have done that with seasons. You could have done like a tree that had like different colors on it, because I think they have those emojis where you could do things like that. At the same time, a red apple and a green apple doesn't necessarily mean the changing of a season, because there are things such as red apples and green apples that are both in season at the same time. You have your Granny Smith apples, which are the green ones, and then you have your red apples, which are a bit more sweet, but they're both ripe. So I was like, well, maybe it's not the seasons. It has to be something else. So I'm not gonna lie, looking at everything, looking at past leaks, things like that. So back in, I think it was 2021, they did mention that No Man's Sky would eventually be coming to Mac. Everyone thinks that is what the update is, and I will partially agree with that, just because, like I said, there's two apples. So with the first part, I think that is one of the apples, but I also think that there's two emojis, like I said, for two different reasons. One of those apples, I do think it is saying, hey, we're bringing this to Apple. But at the same time, keep in mind, guys, and I might be wrong about this, but I believe I'm not. So at the same time, everyone knew eventually that No Man's Sky was coming to Switch. That was also announced, but it was not announced until after the emoji happened. So they did the emoji, and then that is when they said, hey, this emoji is for the Switch update. And then, of course, they also brought the Expedition and stuff like that when they did the Switch update. So I don't think that the apples have to do with bringing it to Mac. I mean, it might happen at the same time just because there are the two different emojis. So it's definitely a possibility. But looking at the broad spectrum of things, the reason why I don't think that is because, like I said, when it came out with Switch, they did do the emoji for it coming to that system. But at the same time, like I said, the emoji was done first, and then the announcement of the Switch was done. Mac was, like I said, when they were talking about bringing it to Mac, they announced that way back in 2021, if I remember correctly. And it was technically supposed to happen last year in 2022. Obviously, it never happened because they still don't have it. So it could be part of it. I personally don't think that's what it is. It's definitely a possibility. I'm not saying, that's not what it is in general, or 100%. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like I said, it definitely could be. I think it's what everyone else is speculating, or not speculating, what everyone else has been asking for. I think it has to do with taking over space stations. I personally, I'm not going to lie, I personally have said that's never going to happen, just because space stations are too big. It would technically ruin the game. It would ruin the economy, things like that. I think that's what they're going for. I think they're shooting for the stars there with that one. I think they are going to go ahead and try doing the space stations. And the way that I relate that is by the apples. So hello. Well, I mean, first of all, what do a red and a green apple have in common other than the fact that they're apples? So, like I said, it could be the Mac update for that because they both are apples. The other thing, though, is what do apples relate to in No Man's Sky? So, fruit, I don't think it has anything to do with food. Even when he did the Origins one, like I said, it was just an orange. It was definitely way off what anyone was thinking. With the apple, I think it has to do with the core. Apples have cores, and I think that the core, has to do with the space stations. So, like I said, this is just my speculation here. I have no proof of anything. I'm just guessing, like everyone else was, or is, I should say. The update, I do believe, is coming this week. That's also not a guarantee. That's just seeing how fast they've been doing the emojis and then the updates immediately after. I do think that that's what's going to happen. Why does it look so big? But yeah, so I do think that that's going to happen. As far as the what's it called, as far as the space stations, I'm not saying you're going to be able to take them over, but I do think it's going to have to do something with the space stations. I don't know exactly what, but the fact that there's a red one and a green one, I do think it's going to say, basically, you have your core that is sweet and you have your core that is sour. Looking at the two different apples, the red one being sweet one, the green one being the sour one. So the way that I relate that is, you have like basically a good space station, a bad space station. which sour isn't necessarily bad in terms of fruit, depending on the actual you know, fruit itself. I mean, it could definitely be a good thing. I didn't read any of that. I was just taking a guess there. So we definitely failed that. Anyway, so yeah, so I think it does have to do with the space stations. I think it's going to have to do with the core, as far as you know. I like I said, I don't know if we're going to be able to take it over, but they still need to do the override, which is a thing that has been in the game for a very long time. And then obviously looking at other channels and stuff, there has been leaks recently about updated space stations, which we have not seen those yet. So it's definitely a huge possibility to have that update coming very soon. And then on top of that, we are also probably going to be getting an expedition in relationship to it. So not necessarily in relationship to these space stations, which more than likely, if it is the update for space stations, then there probably will be one. But what I mean is, normally when he does an emoji and we get an update, it usually does come with an expedition anyway. So something to look forward to, just to kind of break in the mold there. I know when they did the pirate one, a lot of the, or not a lot, the expedition was actually related to, you know, how the pirates work and their different types of systems, things like that. So I think it's going to be the same thing, except I do think it is going to be with space stations. Like I said, not saying that you are going to be able to take them over or anything, but that is my speculation, just because it has to do with the core. The space station does have a core, you know, and I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe everyone's completely wrong. Maybe it does have to do with Mac. Maybe everybody's right. But that's just my speculation on it. But like I said, that's going to be I guess the thing that we'll have to wait and see about. And this is not going to be a long video. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Let me know what you guys think it is down in the comments section. And don't just be like, oh, hey, you know, I think it's space stations, or I think it's the computer. You know, give some reasoning behind it. I just want to see, you know, maybe there's something I'm overlooking. But like I said, keep in mind, guys, if you think it's the Mac computer, like I said, that was officially announced back in 2021. They have been working on it ever since. You know, I think like I said, it was supposed to release last year. So we've known that that's coming. I don't think Sean Murray is going to do an emoji for something that we know is already coming. I mean, that's already in the works. Mac people and PC people are definitely going to hate me, but I will say that to me, Mac and PC, they're both computers. I mean, look at it how you want. They are both computers. I don't care what you say. So that's why I don't think that's what it is. As far as you know, me thinking that it's for the space station, it's mainly because of the core, and I'm referring to this here when I talk about the core with space stations. I'm referring to this. So I think it's going to have a lot to do with the space station overrides and stuff like that. I think it's going to have to do with the core here. You know, but I'm also not sure how that would tie into the story altogether, as far as like where the story is leading. We've known for a while that, you know, the Sentinels are definitely, you know, I guess a sort of AI entity, to where, you know, they're trying to take over things too. So technically there is a different species out there, even if it's, you know, mechanical or electronic, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know how the space stations are going to tie in with all that. Don't get me wrong, at the same time, I mean, that does look like a giant Sentinel to me. But like I said, I'm not saying that's what it is or anything, but I do think it is going to have to do something with the space stations, just because of the leaks mainly. And maybe it's both. Maybe they're going to do the Mac, and that's why he did the two apples. Maybe he did the red apple, because they're doing it for the Mac, and then the other apple for the core. I mean, they both do have cores. So the biggest thing that I would say is throwing everybody off is the fact that he initially did the red apple, and then he did switch it to the green one. It's not like he deleted the red one and then did the green one. He literally did the green one right after the red one. So that was very intentional, and I think people are just digging a little too deep into it, or they think he's being too forward. But that's why I don't think it is going to be the Mac thing, at least not directly related to that, just because that would be extremely forward with it. So, but like I said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section, and give me a reasoning as to why you think that. You know, do you guys have any proof? Has it been something that was overlooked with what you are thinking it is? Is it something that no one else has even thought of? I mean, you do have to look at the broad spectrum here. I'm going based off of things that that people are already looking at. I did not come up with this on my own. Um, I do think that it's just stuff that is eventually going to happen, because at the same time, you know, people have been asking about those space stations, and Sean Murray and Hello Games has been listening to what people are requesting. The fact that people want the space stations to be able to be owned and stuff like that is why I think that that's what they're shooting for. I did see one other one. It didn't get too much traction, and it didn't really catch with me either. But I did see one how people were saying, "Oh, because it's an apple with different colors." People were thinking that you're going to be able to paint your ships, you're going to be able to customize your ships. I don't think it's going to be related to that. It might be, but in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be, just because I don't think that us going this long without an expedition, without an update, anything like that, that's going to be the update, and that he's going to show two different apples. I think if anything, for like a customization thing, they will probably show something like like a art type thing, like a, oh, what are those things called? Like what the artists use, where they actually have their little different paint slabs and they put their thumb in it. It's like a wooden board. Yeah, I don't know what those things are called, but I would think that they would do something like that if it had to do with painting or customization. Granted, like I said, that would also be kind of forward, so maybe it is that too. So, you know, maybe it is with the ships, with this one, with the apples. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, just put it down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for all the support you guys have been showing me. I definitely appreciate each and every one of you. I will have another video tomorrow. It is not going to be a No Man's Sky one. It's actually going to be with Helldivers. We did recently get some news with the game called Helldivers. They're coming out with a second one, but I will talk more about that in the next video tomorrow. So thank you all for joining me today. Make sure you guys are leaving a like. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. Also, hit that notification bell icon. It will let you guys know when I'm posting videos. And then I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Thanks for joining me.